The reality TV industry believed that every possible betrayal had already occurred. The drama, however, erupted this time rather than only simmering. As soon as Kirk Frost played that enigmatic film, like a storm ripping through placid skies, everything changed. In a split second, everything in the world of hip-hop and love was normal. And the next, everyone was frantically searching for explanations due to a chaotic whirlwind. Kirk didn't mumble. He made no suggestion. Insiders claim that he dropped what is arguably the most damning receipt ever directed at a cast member. A brief, gloomy film, a dim hotel room, a recognizable voice chuckling in the background, and Yandy Smith, whom fans have always seen as passionately devoted, grounded, and unwavering at the middle of it all. What was supposed to be simply another evening into a spark that would start a fire that none of them could put out. According to reports, Mendeecees froze when he watched the video. His entire universe was reduced to one 30-second clip, which seemed to contradict everything he held dear. The stakes immediately increased. Was this true? Was it twisted? Was someone being set up? The industry was suddenly booming, alliances began to fall apart, and all blogs started honing their craft. And Kirk sat there like a man who knew he had just turned the entire franchise upside down. Almost to calm down. This was more than mere rumors. This was a grenade thrown into a marriage that people looked up to. A moment that shook producers, left viewers speechless. Were rumors circulating among insiders that something even more sinister was developing behind the scenes? And because the tape was merely the beginning, the truth slipped deeper into the shadows, just as it seemed like the dust may settle. Furthermore, its backstory is far more chaotic than anyone could have predicted, leading directly into the core of the instability that is developing. There is one devastating claim at the heart of this conflagration. It is alleged that Kirk Frost disclosed Yandy Smith's private affair. He says that video evidence supports his assertions. Insiders said that Kirk played a video that seemed to show Yandy in a robe in a motel room, laughing with an unseen man whose voice was too familiar to be comforting. 30 seconds of blurry, personal energy was enough to stun someone. Ripples across the whole hip-hop and love scene. According to reports, Kirk presented it as the revelation of the truth. He insisted that his goal was to reveal what he thought had been concealed, not to cause trouble. However, because of Kirk's tendency to stir things up, nobody could determine if he was presenting the truth or fueling the flames. The individual most impacted, Mendeecees, was caught off guard. His fans were given all the information they needed to understand how deeply this accusation cut, and the business, which is always eager for a scandal, quickly seized on it. The reaction was surprised quiet followed by obvious fury. All of a sudden, everyone had inquiries. Was the video authentic? Was it outdated? Was Kirk misrepresenting the situation? Why did he hold off on showing it until now? The stakes became really high on an emotional level. While Mendeecees fought, doubt Yandy's reputation as a devoted and unflinching person was on the line. Anger and betrayal in front of a support following that never overlooks a detail. The timing, the delivery, and the fact that it featured three of the franchise's most talked about characters were all factors that contributed to the allegations' explosiveness. The entire basis of their friendships, relationships, and reputations started to crumble once the claim was made public, dragging us directly into the pandemonium that ensued. The anniversary, it was intended to be a quiet, private, and lively meal. Rather, it turned out to be the very time when everything in their circle changed. The lighting in the restaurant was warm and muted. It typically eases tension. However, it simply served to highlight the shadows on everyone's faces tonight. Kirk hardly touched his dinner as he sat there rigidly. His gaze darting from Rashidita to Mendeecees seemed to be mentally practicing something. Rashidita was smiling courteously and tapping her fingernails on her glass in an attempt to make things lighthearted. But even she could feel the odd weight while sitting in between them. Suddenly, Kirk leaned back, cleared his throat, and gently took out his phone. A video thumbnail that he had obviously been anticipating appeared on the screen. Display. He didn't prepare for it. He didn't lessen the impact. He just flipped the screen, set it on the table, and hit the play button. The clip lasted about 30 seconds, grainy low lighted, and was filmed from a perspective that suggested it was secretly recorded, revealing what seemed to be Mendeecees having a discussion that sounded way too intimate to be innocent. Rashida's eyes widened and Mendeecees' jaw tensed at once due to the body language, tone of voice, and minor things. Mendeecees stopped and stared at the video as though he couldn't take his eyes off it. With an unfinished breath, his chest rose abruptly. Rashidita didn't even glance down as her fork fell out of her hand and clattered onto the dish. Kirk, meantime, didn't blink, didn't smile or flinch. All he did was watch Mendeecees, anticipating the response he knew was inevitable. The table fell silent as the video concluded, the type of quiet that makes every sound in the space seems far away. Mendeecees forced himself to swallow in an attempt to speak, but nothing came out. Leaning back slowly, Rashidita studied the two of them, debating whether or not to speak. Upon approaching, the waiter quickly became aware of the tension and discreetly retreated. The three sat there, one startled, one angry but in control, and one in the thick, chilly, almost metallic air, incredibly let down. After that, the supper never recovered. The cracks that had just appeared could not be repaired by dessert, toast, or soothing music. They departed, independently, with the surrounding air being cooler than the night air outside. Once he got home that evening, Mendeecees hardly said anything. He avoided his own house by moving around it, thoughts, providing brief responses, and spending a lot of time alone in the bedroom. The heavy footsteps, the abrupt silence, and his refusal to look her in the eye were all immediately apparent to Yandy. The distance had gotten worse by daybreak, as though he didn't want anyone, not even Yandy, to have access to anything. He got up early, picked up his phone, and began changing passwords. Yandy was moving from room to room, trying to figure out what she had done wrong, and the home felt frozen, as Mendeecees remained engrossed in his own thoughts, repeatedly viewing the video. The customary warmth, the early jokes, soft music, and casual conversation all vanished, to be replaced by a thick, chilly tension that made every little sound reverberate. When Yandy attempted to ask him if something had happened, he dismissed her off with short, icy answers. Simple actions seemed weighty because of the significant shift in energy in the house. They had completely stopped talking by the end of the day, and the quiet had taken on a life of its own between them. The following morning, the murmurs had ceased to be whispers. They were catching on like wildfire on social media, transforming minor clues into extensive conjecture. A member of the background cast posted a mysterious tweet with a sidelong glance that stated, "Y'all ain't ready for what just happened." Emoji fans went into detective mode with just that one post. Hashtags, like "Who is in the clip?", "Kirk got receipts," and Mendeecees became popular within hours. Even bloggers started piecing together old footage, comparing time stops, matching clothing, analyzing facial expressions from previous episodes, and even pulling up hotel check-in images from months earlier to see if anything matched. Even though no one had yet seen the actual video, Kirk allegedly showed the tape. Fan pages focused on grainy pictures, saying they had discovered hints in the silhouettes of people, the carpet pattern, or the backdrop illumination. Split screen was made by TikTok commentators, hypotheses about who Mendeecees might have been speaking to and why the discussion sounded so personal, stopping at random frames and rewriting whole stories. In the meantime, anonymous Instagram story reposts stoked the flames. According to reports, the video was taken following a late-night event and featured the same attire that Mendeecees wore in a widely shared selfie a few weeks prior. Every little thing turned into a breadcrumb. Every room warmed. The news, and more individuals were drawn in by each headline as they attempted to unravel the reality. What had begun as a few people's private conflict was now turning into a virtual manhunt. Fans were certain that they were discovering something significant, even more significant than Kirk had alluded to. By midday, there were so many wild speculations that the internet resembled a crime scene. The commotion really started during a brunch that was meant to be innocuous, just a casual lunchtime meet with a few old faces, when Kirk chose to let a little too much escape. Everyone was playing detective, waiting, and pleading for the actual clip to emerge. He had no intention of making a big surprise. He didn't even specifically mention the video. As an alternative, someone joked that relationships are difficult. Additionally, Kirk didn't even raise his platter, whispered. Wide-eyed Kirk, however, maintained his composure and continued to eat as if he hadn't just hurled a grenade into the middle of the table. Someone silently hit the record button on their phone at that precise time, catching the tone, the expression, and most significantly, his voice was tense. That 9-second clip spilt onto private fan pages, group conversations, and social media within hours. Kirk's once private hint abruptly turned into the millions of views in one afternoon are the new addiction on the internet. Even while the brunch remark wasn't overt, it was sufficient to validate all of the rumors that fans had been harboring. During the night, the brunch gossip became a full-fledged controversy that the entire love and hip-hop community couldn't stop talking about as private rumors turned into public upheaval. As the gossip intensified, and the brunch in an attempt to capitalize on the rising the network wanted Mendeecees on camera. As the audio continued to circulate, and the production pressure reached a breaking point. However, it was evident that he was neither emotionally or mentally prepared. He refused to record shots that even alluded to relationship turmoil, walked off set when producers tried to push the clip topic, and snapped at crew members when he came late for shoots. A number of brands retreated until the issue subsided after planned appearances, including a sponsored event where he was supposed to be the main attraction, were discreetly cancelled. Producers were in a frenzy behind the scenes, since the plot was exploding on the internet as the main character was falling apart. The strain caused Mendeecees' normally composed manner to falter. He refused to mic up, yelled at camera operators for being too close, and at one during a shot point slammed a door so forcefully that the rest of the day's production was stopped. Concerned about being linked to a possible scandal, sponsors started sending out worrisome emails, and the stress was worse at home. Small talks between him and Yandy devolved into icy exchanges or utter silence as each unanswered question hung in the air like smoke. Members of the family attempted to intervene, but he was under pressure from both private and public skepticism that he was unable to escape. The more he attempted to block out the cacophony, the more it engulfed him and tightened around his career, family and reputation, until it seemed as though he was losing control of everything. In the end, the producers set up a private meeting, not for the show or the cameras, but because things had gotten so bad that they need the area to be cleaned, so that the two guys could speak without a set explosion. They ushered Kirk and Mendeecees into a remote production office, the type with gloomy lighting, cool air conditioning, and a round table that made everyone should stare at one another. Mendeecees arrived stiff, his eyes sharp, his jaw clenched, as if he were prepared to demand answers. Kirk appeared more composed than he has in weeks as he reclined in his chair. It's the kind of serenity that made everything feel even more eerie. Mendeecees wasted no time. He inquired directly what the purpose was, why Kirk had shown the video, what he believed he saw, and why it had to be at a dinner rather than a private conversation. However, Kirk didn't apologize or offer an explanation. Rather, he took out his phone once more and chose a file that was several minutes lengthy rather than 30 seconds. The moment he placed the phone on the table, angled it in their direction, and hit play, the identical dialogue was shown in the longer tape, but it was extended to illustrate the body language, tone changes, pauses, and most importantly, the passage where a woman's voice answered in a way that was too familiar to be ignored. It sounded like Yandy's voice, at least. Everything inside Mendeecees vanished as soon as that voice entered the speaker. Still, confusion, incredulity, and a hint of heartbreak flickered across his whole face. Producers had just summoned Yandy into the meeting for transparency, started out by pointing out that the video was out of context. The tone was deceptive. It was a professional conversation that was edited to appear personal. According to her, the illumination gave the impression that a private area, while in reality, a cast meeting had been held in a hotel lobby. She maintained that nothing occurred, nor then, nor ever. However, the meanies grew quieter as she continued to explain. He didn't talk over you. He didn't speak louder. He simply gazed at the television, observing the passing seconds as every contradiction was replayed in his thoughts, every online rumor, every frigid moment at home. The silence was oppressive by the time the clip ended. Kirk returned the phone to his pocket. Mandy sat there in shock as Yandy continued to speak, not knowing whether to challenge her, stand up for her, or just leave. It wasn't a loud emotional break in that room. It didn't explode. It was heavy, silent, and excruciatingly unpleasant. The kind of silence that made everyone in the room realize that their relationship would never be the same. When Yandy could take no more of the internet clamor, she eventually lost it. The persistent tagging under each of her posts, the DMs full of screenshots, and the comments accusing her of lying. She obviously wanted the attention to be on her words rather than her appearance. So she went live sitting in front of a plain white wall without any makeup or glitter. At first, her voice wavered, but she steadied herself, giving a detailed account of the story from start to finish. She said that the video was distorted, edited, and deceptive. An incident arose during a business discussion she was having in a packed lobby. By gently mentioning terms like slander and intent to injure, she alluded to legal action, leaving spectators to worry how serious things had grown behind the scenes. She displayed meeting calendars, receipts for her travel dates, and even grainy images of the group she said was present during the talk. However, the most poignant moment was when she acknowledged that she was being harassed. She is being called names by anonymous DMs. Threatening communications were sent. Bloggers are misrepresenting her in order to get clicks. Influencers responded right away. Some defended her, claiming that the story had gotten out of hand. Others accuse her of being dishonest rather than trying to control the harm. However, a change occurred online for the first time since the drama broke out. The double standard, the violent manner in which individuals dissected her without evidence, and the toll public were all acknowledged by viewers. Her mental health was being speculated about. A tiny but discernible wave of empathy began to emerge. Comments such as "maybe we judged too fast, it appears to be modified. Behind the scenes, someone is being dishonest," wasn't a complete atonement, but it marked the start of a convoluted and surprising change in public opinion, with some fans now wondering if Yandy was the bad guy or just another victim of a chaotic, contrived circumstance that had gotten out of hand. But when things started to go Yandy's way, Kirk doused the fire with petrol, using a seat-off. Mysterious Instagram pictures have sparked yet another craze on the internet. He didn't have to name them, but he didn't. Lines like "truth, when people act innocent, and don't need to be defended, that's when you look closely, it's sufficiently evident." Mendeecees and Yandy were tagged in every thread as fans flooded the comments, requesting that he release the entire clip. Rashida, weary of being dragged, made a private comment at a friend's dinner if they only knew the true reason he aired that clip. And she got herself into a predicament she didn't cause. Naturally, it was leaked within hours, which fueled more conjecture. Then, in a fit of rage and anger, Yandy's sister went live to defend Yandy and to call out specific individuals who prioritize attention over responsibility, which was widely taken as a direct jab at Kirk. The drama quickly spread, and old-as fans attempted to piece together motivations and timelines. Revived disputes, unresolved arguments, and forgotten episodes all made a comeback. The story broke up into various interpretations based on the beliefs of individuals. Kirk was exposing the truth, according to some. Others thought he was causing trouble in order to gain influence. A few attributed everyone's manipulation to productivity, and others said that the entire cast had been keeping secrets for months. A single leaked video had evolved into a multi-layered fuel was added by a torrent of accusations, alliances, and half-truths involving cast members, family members, influencers, and devoted fans. The plot suddenly got too large, too convoluted, and too combustible to contain. Overnight, every notion was disproved by an unforeseen turn of events. Just as the internet believed the story was finished, anonymous security footage appeared, dangling, time-stamped, and unavoidable. The video did not depict a private rendezvous or covert intimacy. Rather, it showed Yandy standing in a well-lit hotel lobby with two teammates and a retreat staffer, engaged in mid-con discussion, and totally refuting the notion that she had spent time alone. Although the camera viewpoint was far away, it was still clear enough to provide the context that Kirk's cropped, shorter version lacked. As soon as bloggers hurried to modify their stories as soon as the video appeared on Reddit and Twitter, all of a sudden, pages that had boldly promoted the affair theory were publishing corrections, recognizing that they may have leaped the gun. TikTok investigators who had been creating timelines for days started creating additional recordings, recognizing the potential for extensive editing and deceptive viewpoints.